Introduction. An inductor, also called a coil, choke, or reactor, is a passive two-terminal electrical component that stores energy in a magnetic field when electric current flows through it. An inductor typically consists of an insulated wire wound into a coil. What is an inductor used for? An inductor is a passive electronic component which is capable of storing electrical energy in the form of magnetic energy. Basically, it uses a conductor that is wound into a coil, and when electricity flows into the coil from the left to the right, this will generate a magnetic field in the clockwise direction. What is inductor and its unit? An inductor is a passive electronic component that stores energy in the form of a magnetic field. In its simplest form, an inductor consists of a wire loop or coil. The inductance is directly proportional to the number of turns in the coil. The standard unit of inductance is the Henry, abbreviated. This is a large unit. What is inductor in simple words? When meeting a candidate for the first time, create a level of interest in the candidate. Building rapport will help to break any tension and encourage more candid responses. Try to ask questions on topics that may be of mutual interest. Ensure to limit the duration to 5 minutes. Pay attention to the responses and ask follow-up questions to gain additional insights and check for consistency. What is the difference between an inductor and a capacitor? Capacitors and inductors are electronic components that can store energy supplied by a voltage source. A capacitor stores energy in an electric field, an inductor stores energy in a magnetic field. Why inductor is not used in DC? The inductor is a passive circuit. It will act as a short circuit when direct current is applied across the inductor. The inductor works on the principle of changing electric flux. When DC is used in an inductor, there will be no change in magnetic flux since DC does not have zero frequency. Therefore, the inductor acts as a short circuit in DC. And we use inductor in place of capacitor? An external inductor replacing the capacitor won't change the phase angle of current in the start/run coil. It will be the same phase, or thereabouts, as the current in the main coil, and there will be no rotation of field. Is a coil a capacitor? What are a capacitor and inductor? The capacitor is an electrical component that is made up of two conductors alienated by an insulator. An inductor or coil or choke is a two-terminal device that is used to build various circuits. The main function of an inductor is used to store energy in a magnetic field. Do inductors increase current? As an inductor stores more energy, its current level increases, while its voltage drop decreases. The type of material the wire is coiled around greatly impacts the strength of the magnetic field flux, and therefore the amount of stored energy generated for any given amount of current through the coil. What happens when inductor is connected to AC? AC inductor circuit. In the purely inductive circuit above, the inductor is connected directly across the AC supply voltage. As the supply voltage increases and decreases with the frequency, the self-induced back EMF also increases and decreases in the coil with respect to this change. Why LC circuits are not possible? However, there is a large current circulating between the capacitor and inductor. In principle, this circulating current is infinite, but in reality is limited by resistance in the circuit, particularly resistance in the inductor windings. Since total current is minimal, in this state the total impedance is maximal. Why does inductor block AC and allows DC? An inductor blocks AC while allowing DC because it resists a change in current. If you apply DC across an inductor, it will stabilize to some current flow based on the maximum current available from the current voltage source. What inductance means? In electromagnetism and electronics, inductance is the tendency of an electrical conductor to oppose a change in the electric current flowing through it. Inductance is defined as the ratio of the induced voltage to the rate of change of current causing it. How is inductance calculated? The formula is, the microhenries of inductance in a coil equals, N squared D squared, 18D plus 40 liters, where N equals the number of rings in the coil, D equals the diameter of the coil and L equals the length of the coil. What size inductor do I need? To get a good compromise between inductor and capacitor size, you should choose a ripple current value of 10% to 30% of maximum load current. This also implies that the current in the inductor will be continuous for output currents greater than 5% to 15% of full load. What is self-induced EMF? Definition: self-induced EMF is the EMF induced in the coil due to the change of flux produced by linking it with its own turns. What inductor should I use? An inductor should have a high value of rated current so that it can operate in linear range over the entire load. Also, it should have low DC resistance to minimize losses and increase the efficiency of the regulator. It should also have a small size, which is important for printed circuit boards, PCBs. What is a good inductor? An ideal inductor has no resistance, only inductance, so R equals 0 ohms and therefore no power is dissipated within the coil, so we can say that an ideal inductor has zero power loss. What is current rating of inductor? Current rating is the maximum current the gauge of wire used in the inductor can handle at the rated temperature range. Saturation current is the point where the magnetic field no longer increases proportionally with an increase in current.